Hello everyone. Now you will hear a fast recap of the film Target Number 1. The film is based on real events. Daniel is a former drug addict, but now he has tied it up and has become an honest worker. At the gas station, Daniel called his mother. He was paid by check, and he needed to pay for the gas right now. But when she heard that her son Junkie needed $10 from her, the woman simply hung up. The guy could only leave without paying. Daniel was going to rent a house, but it turned out that he was cheated out of money. We meet another hero, journalist Victor Malaroc. He takes on the most high-profile investigations and always gets into trouble. Right now he had to run away from bandits whose path he crossed. It's good that the cameraman followed him, and the criminals did not dare to break his bones on camera. Victor was late for his wife's birth. The interview turned out to be more important to him. The bosses forced him to write regular articles and not to pester crime bosses. Take an easy topic, one article a week, and that's it. You'll have the same amount of money. Daniel finally cashed the check and immediately started looking for the friend who left him homeless. Michael was hanging out on a yacht with drug dealer Glenn Picker. This hopeless guy points a gun at everyone, but it turns out he's just joking. Picker brought a bag of heroin and started talking about business. He wants Daniel to deliver a batch of drugs from Thailand to Canada. The kid initially refused to use, but Picker switched to manipulation and threats. He held out for a long time, 6 months. Welcome back. Victor found material for an excellent article about a major drug dealer from Thailand. The boss gave the go-ahead. When Daniel woke up in the morning, there was no money in his pockets. Neither did Michael. He left for another city. Damn, did this take your cash? He took everything I had. It was a good thing. Picker offered him a job and a place to live. He could stay right there and fish with the dealer. Victor went to the police station and started asking about that raid in Thailand, who that repeat offender was sitting there, and why he hadn't been extradited to Canada yet. But the cop didn't want to answer the questions. Victor realized that he had to act on his own, so he asked the editors for money for a ticket to Bangkok. I'll pay for the trip, but if you don't come back with an article, you're fired. Picker got Daniel hooked on drugs again. The guy spends all his earnings on them. He hasn't yet realized that the dealer is going to use him for his own purposes. The bearded rat has been snitching on the police for a long time, but now he just made up a drug case to sell him to the cops for a higher price. His victim, of course, was Daniel. Picker sent the guy to an address where he was given a bag of drugs. Sergeant Frank Cooper is an old loser cop who decided to earn points by catching a big fish. But he made a terrible mistake and confused Daniel with a hardened criminal who was born on the same day as him. For this, set up the source. The speaker will receive $80,000. Victor finally arrived in Thailand. However, for some reason they refused to let him see the prisoner. The journalist found out that the Canadian police restricted his access. The cops definitely don't want him to find out the truth. Then Victor turned to the Thai police, began to threaten to write unpleasant things about them in the newspaper, and the bet on blackmail worked. Picker told Daniela that he was going to solve things in Colombia. The junkie was left alone with the boss's powder and, of course, snorted it with his new girlfriend. Cooper called Picker and said that it was time to get started. The capture of drug dealer Daniel Leach will be the most high-profile operation this month, which means the precinct will receive a huge budget. Are we flying to Thailand? We are flying to Thailand, I'm sure, having served. Picker took a photo with some gardener to show it to Daniel later. This is a Colombian drug boss. He is just brutal. How influential. Picker remembered that bag of powder that is no longer there. Daniel needs to think of something. He rolled around in the mud, tore his clothes and hit himself in the face with a rock. Anyway, he was supposedly robbed. But Picker still wants his $1,000, plus a 40% fine for each day of delay. He had to sell his motorcycle and grandfather's watch, but the money he got was still not enough. The counter keeps ticking. Picker hit the guy and offered to do one job for him. Then he would forget about the debt. Victor was finally able to meet this terrible drug boss, and it turned out to be the loser. Daniel, beaten, sad and depressed. He lies about being a crime boss just to get another fix. But today Victor suggested that the prisoner tell the truth. Picker brought Daniel to meet the cops. They pretended to be drug dealers. They allegedly needed 10 kilograms of powder. Daniel had to find a supplier in Thailand and deliver the goods to Canada. However, the guy has no experience at all in this business. If you make me look like an idiot in front of these people, I will skin you alive. Daniel is trying to get out of here because he doesn't even have a passport. They took it away the last time they expelled him from Thailand. To scare the idiot, the cops staged the scene. Allegedly, one bandit killed another on a yacht. Daniel found a blood stain and a shell casing. Probably, the same fate awaits him if he decides to screw the crime boss. After all, it was the federal agents who paid for his new documents, tickets, etc. Leave me a couple of baht in this hole. They make you pay for your food, okay? Finally, Victor advised Daniel to admit his guilt. Otherwise, he faces the death penalty. It seems that Daniel is the only one like that in the entire prison. The rest are face. Another prisoner punched him to take away a pack of cigarettes. Daniel did not let himself be offended and knocked the impudent one out. After the roll call, the prisoners were taken to a cell where several dozen people live. Daniel immediately handed the cigarettes to the local authority. This is payment for 1 dose of powder. While Victor is writing an article in Thailand, and known people visited his wife in Canada at night. This is a warning from the cops for the journalist not to stick his nose where it does not belong. Daniel is afraid of an attack, so he carries a sharpening knife with him everywhere, and today he will need it. That impudent Thai came to the showdown with a friend, however. First, they pestered a drug addict. Daniel stood up for the helpless man and inflicted several wounds on them, but still emerged from the fight as the loser. Daniel woke up in the hospital. His legs were chained to the bed. Victor learned about the night incident on the phone. He had to hide his family with his colleague, but it seems it was all in vain. The editor-in-chief refused to publish the article. It contains too serious accusations against the police. The lawyers will come. We will cut out some things and publish it tomorrow. Okay, we go back in time a little. Due to budget problems, the cooperative in Thailand will have to involve young people. Cooper's son Al is studying at the police academy, and he happily agreed to take part in the operation. The work isn't paid, and you will need to undergo training. I will not let you down, Dad. Daniel meanwhile escaped. The cops decided to get to him through his girlfriend. The girl is also a drug dealer, so she was forced to give up her boyfriend. But Daniel was close to escaping the city. Cooper's partner posed as a crime boss. This serious man will make sure that Daniel gets to Thailand without any problems. Just for a couple of days there and back. Victor combines his part-time job at the newspaper with his job as a TV presenter, and then out of the blue he was fired. This, of course, has nothing to do with his investigation and federal agents. The next day, Victor was fired from the newspaper. But the man received a call from the newly formed Ethical Investigations Department. The specialist is interested in the case of Daniel Lia and intends to help the guy. Victor's wife is tired of this case. Because of it, her husband lost both jobs, and she and her child are living with a stranger. It's time to stop, however. The journalist seems to be more concerned about Daniel's fate than his own daughter. To Picker, his old friend was delivered by Al Cooper. Make sure he gets on the plane. Don't worry, he will get on. That night the kid called his friend. He hoped that Michael knew a big dealer in Thailand, but Michael was buying the stuff from a regular tuk-tuk driver. Only now did Cooper's partner realize that they had messed with the wrong guy. There was indeed a dangerous criminal named LJ, but his name was Robert. He and Daniel shared the same birthday. Their kid was clean, but Cooper didn't care. He was going to frame an innocent man. The feds had arrived in Thailand and contacted the local police. They would arrest the Canadian with the powder in Vancouver, and the feds would arrest their dealer here. That was the plan, but Sergeant Cooper, I'm afraid that's impossible. We won't allow illegal drugs to leave the country, even with the Canadian police. The cops had hidden cameras in the room. Daniel was on his way there with the dealer. The partner wanted to call it off at the last minute. That was too harsh on the guy. But Cooper and his son just sent him away. Daniel and his new friend, the tuk-tuk driver, entered the room. The guy wanted to leave right away, but he was ordered to stay, and then they thrust a bag of money as if he was the main one in this deal. It turned out that the dealer would not bring the goods here. His sister would choose the place of the deal. So Daniel now has 2 days to organize everything. Later it turned out that the sister did not want to get involved with the Canadians. She decided that these visitors were from the police. So the driver decided to do everything himself. However, he will be able to get only 2 kilograms. 2 girls, Nipa and Pinpen, drove the cops to the place of the deal. Reinforcements are waiting nearby. Nipa's brother drove up here. They made him get off his bike and hand over the powder to the buyers. Al began to demand that he show the goods. He wanted to see the money first. This led to a conflict. Nipper cut Cooper with a knife. He immediately pulled out his gun and badge. Daniel tried to run away, but the street was blocked on both sides. At this point, the situation got out of control. Nipa pressed the gas pedal and tried to drive away. Cooper smashed the glass with his gun and accidentally fired. A stray bullet blew out his son Al's brains. So the operation with $1 million budget went just fine. The boss realized that he needed to cover his tracks urgently. The main thing is to deal with the witness. Daniel was brought to court. The local cops' testimonies do not match. So they are waiting for someone who will provide the official version. Cooper entered the room. Daniel saw him in uniform for the first time. The man lied under oath and made Daniel out to be hardened criminals. The guy said that the agents made a big mistake. They paid for his trip to Thailand. It is illegal. He was set up. Unfortunately, the Thai judge, to put it mildly, does not care about this blunder. For possession of more than 200 grams of heroin, Daniel and 3 Thai citizens are sentenced to death. The Canadian remembered Victor's words and admitted his guilt. In this case, the convicted person is sentenced to 100 years in prison. Fortunately, in Canada, this case was handled in parallel by Victor and the Ethical Investigations Department. After all, in a Thai prison, a prisoner dies after 10 years and foreigners after 5. Victor's wife was tired of living in constant stress. So she packed her things and moved in with her sister. The journalist had to try very hard to convince the woman to give him one last chance. When Daniel returned to his cell, he found 12.5 letters from his mother. The guards were hiding them. There was also 1 letter regarding the investigation of his case, which means he still has a chance. By the way, the drug addict he saved from the prisoners helped him with the letters. He has connections. 8 years have passed since that day. Only now has Daniel managed to get transferred to a Canadian prison. From there, he will be immediately released. Over the years, Daniel had overcome his addiction on his own. He had personally worked on his case to get a transfer. I see no one is here to meet you. I lost both my parents while I was in prison. Do you know what happened to the police officers who arrested you? They were awarded medals for Operation Goliath and given management positions. As Daniel boarded the bus, he thanked Victor. He had saved his life. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.